Okay, I know. Quite a title. Naming ionic compounds with multivalent metal ions. What in the world does that mean? Not a bad idea actually looking at that title, because again, you're naming compounds. If you take a look at your worksheet that goes with this section 8.3, you're given a formula. So FeO is the formula. Again, they're ionic, metal and a non-metal. Question here is, what does multivalent mean? So if you're confused by that, it's probably a good idea to just take a quick look at the periodic table. You've met it before. You see all these lovely things in the middle here? These are transition metals. They're still metals, but notice their valence. Their valence is another word for their charge. And for all of these transition metals, they have more than one valence or charge. So in other words, they're multivalent. Everything you've done up until now, we've always said lithium is +1, sodium is +1, it's never +3, +7. These are monovalent. Transition metals are multivalent. So if we have a compound that has any one of these metals in it, we have to say which one of them it is. Is it copper 1 or copper 2? Is it zinc 2? Zinc only has the one, right? But take a look at, for instance, iron. Is it 3+ or 2+? Chromium 3+ or 2+? And again, not to confuse matters by using more numbers with plus and minus. In the name, you're actually going to use Roman numerals to say which nickel it is, for example. So if it was nickel 2, we would use Roman numeral 2. If it was iron 3, we would say iron 1, 2, 3, right? How about, where's lead? Lead could be lead 4. So this is just a little refresher course on Roman numerals. If you have to do Roman numerals, we have 1, we have 2, 3, 4, and I don't believe you're ever going to encounter 5, but 5 would be just a V, right? Ignore that little scribble right there. Okay, let's get back to the lovely little worksheet, because I know you want to do it right. Did I just do what I think I did? Wow, not good. Yeah. So, this is the worksheet. You are given the formula FeO. We've just looked at iron. Iron could be iron 2 or it could be iron 3. In the name, we have to actually say which one it is. So, first thing I'd do is recognize the elements. So I would write iron, and then I would write brackets, because we're going to put something in those brackets once we know which iron it is. Take a look at the second, the nonmetal. It's oxygen, but because there's just 2 elements in that compound, the name is going to be oxide. Right, so now what goes in the brackets? It's going to be a Roman numeral. Oxygen is -2, so again, all compounds must add up to 0. What do you think iron is? It's got to be 2+. And so the iron that we're using in this compound is iron, Roman numeral 2, oxide. Piece of cake. Let's try the one below it. You know what SN is, right? Right. SN is tin. And which tin is it? Again, some of you are saying to yourself, what do you mean, what tin is it? Take a look at tin. Tin could be 4+, or it could be 2+. Which one is it? The only way we can tell is by looking at the nonmetal. So we know it's going to be one of those 2. So for now, we'll just put the brackets, tin, and S, sulfur. But again, we wouldn't say tin, sulfur. 2 elements, change the sulfur to ide, sulfide. Good. So sulfur is, when you look on your periodic table, what is the charge for the ion of sulfur? Sulfur is I'm going to switch colors just because there's a mess of blue on that page. And sulfur is over here, -2. So once we know that, you go back to this. Sulfur is -2, but take a look. You've got 2 ions. Each sulfur ion is -2. You've got 2 of them, so the total charge on sulfur is -4. And what do you suppose the charge has to be then on tin? 4 plus. And we don't use that. We use the Roman numeral for tin for sulfide. Okay, PbSO4, you immediately see that you are dealing with more than 2 elements in a compound. So you know it's not "ide", it's going to be something off your polyatomic ion sheet. So the polyatomic ion sheet, remember this guy? There they all are. So, and again, be careful with this sheet. The one that I'm showing here hasn't been corrected. The one I handed out in class is, so for example, oxygen is -2 as a charge. No subscript there, right? Anyhow, we are looking in this case for sulfate. Sulfate, spelled like a good American with an F, is -2. So, back to the lovely little worksheet. Sulfate. We know the first one, Pb, is lead. And then we're going to figure out what goes in the brackets. We know that SO4 is sulfate. I'm going to spell it like a Canadian. Sulfate, we said, was -2. So guess which lead this has to be? You got it, +2. And again, that plus that has to equal 0. So lead has to be +2, and the sulfate from your chart is -2. So add those two together, you get 0. It balances out. By the way, as far as turning in these worksheets, again, just let me remind you, the only side you have to turn in is the 21 to 40 side down here. I'm not going to do all these for you. I'm just saying that you probably should practice a few of them on your own and check with me, make sure you're doing them right before you do 21 through 40. I'll do a couple more here just because I know you're having fun. I'm just going to give you the answers to a couple and you can try them and check them for yourself. So this would be chromium, and in brackets 3 sulfide. How about this one? Copper. And then NO3, check your sheet of polyatomic ions. NO3 is nitrate, and nitrate is -1, but you've got 2 of them. So 2 times -1 is -2. That tells you the copper has to be +2 nitrate. Okay, one more. I figure if you can get number 6, you probably know what you are doing. We know that Fe is iron. We don't know which iron it is yet because we need to take a look at the nonmetal. The nonmetal polyatomic ion is sulfate. Sulfate is -2, but you got 3 of them. 3 times -2 is -6. So what must the charge of the iron be? I'd say 3, because 3 times 2 is +6. +6 plus -6 equals 0. So iron 3 sulfate. Right. Be careful though with these multivalent ions, because on a test and even on this worksheet they throw a few in that aren't multivalent. So for example, calcium has a combining capacity on the periodic table of +2. It's always +2. It's not multivalent. So if you put calcium 2 hydroxide, then you would be wrong. There is no Roman numeral on that one. It would be just calcium hydroxide. By the way, you need to spell the entire name as well. So, you know what I think? I think you should just try a few of these on your own. Get some help if you need it. And yeah, that's it for now.